Hi, today's all about fall. Now that it's finally cooling off here in Southern California, we can focus on fall gardening. As much fun as tomatoes and peppers and summer fruiting is, I've been really excited and anxious to get started on my fall garden. Today I'm going to be transplanting out some seeds that I started inside about a month ago. Broccoli, cauliflower, kale, beets, carrots, different varieties of lettuce and spinach, onions, chives, and a few herbs as well. I started these seeds in August inside so they'd be ready to transplant out. It's about mid-September and we're getting a little cool off here in California, so now I'm not afraid of the triple-digit weather burning and shriveling off all my plants. I did start some outside just as an experiment to see how they do. Some were successful, others were not, and now I'm going to show you how I'm going to transplant these out into my raised garden beds. First things first is I'm going to remove this bird netting I have on a simple PVC pipe frame that we built. We have a bit of a sparrow problem and they love to snack on my seedlings because, as you can see, I have a chicken coop in my garden and it brings all the birds here because they love to snack on the chicken feed too. So I have a bit of a bird problem and I have to protect my plants from them. Before I planted, I prepped the garden bed with some slow release fertilizer. I always use organic when I can. Some bone meal, which is really good for your lettuces and your brassicas. Some garden lime, and I sprinkle some Epsom salt in there as well. I put fresh compost and then worm castings, and I'm going to add a little bit of worm castings underneath where I transplant. I'm just going to, when I dig the hole to transplant, I'm just going to do like a little scoop of this under by the roots. That's how I prep the bed. As you can see here, I already have some plants growing in my bed. I didn't want the bed to go to waste and have nothing planted in it while I waited for my transplants to grow inside. So I went ahead and I sprinkled a berried lettuce mix. And it was kind of an experiment to see how it would grow in the triple-digit weather here. And I'm surprised that actually some things are growing. So I'm just going to keep letting it grow for now, and then if it gets in the way of my plants as they get bigger, I'm just going to harvest it as baby lettuce, or if there's room for it, I'll let it keep growing. So today I'm going to be transplanting out some cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage. I'm going to be kind of doing the square foot gardening technique, so I'm going to try to make sure there's enough room for each plant. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Right here I have a tomatillo plant. I know that's not a fall plant, but I'm doing another experiment where I'm going to see how much I can get going before our first frost date, which here in Southern California isn't until November, so maybe I can have some tomatillos by then. So I'm just kind of removing the bottom of this pea pot. I know that they say you can plant these, but I don't want the roots to get all bound up, so I'm just going to take it out. I'm going to make room for it. I have here Organic Solutions worm castings, and I'm just going to sprinkle some of it at the bottom of the hole, and then go ahead and pack this down. Tomatillos, like tomatoes, start growing roots out, so you want to actually remove some of the bottom leaves. And then roots will keep growing from there. And I'm actually going to bury a little bit of it in there, and all the roots will start growing and taking hold from there. Hopefully before our first frost in November, we can have some fresh tomatillos for Ricardo to make us salsa. I have a 3-foot by 6-foot raised garden bed, so if I'm going to do the square foot gardening technique, I have 6 this way and 3 this way. I already also started, besides the lettuce mix, I forgot to mention, some beets right here in the square foot. I have 9 red onions and then carrots right there. Now that I prepped the holes, I pre-dug them out. I'm going to be adding my worm castings. So here's a red cabbage. I'm going to be planting. They say 1 cabbage per square foot. So I'm planting 2 today, but I'm going to start 1 inside so I can also have a 3rd one over here, and then I can have a later harvest. I get most of my sun from the south here, so I'm gonna make sure that I plant my taller plants facing this way so they don't shade the other plants. So I have my beets and my carrots over here, and then I'm going in succession to taller plants. So I'm gonna plant my cabbage here, about in the middle of the bed, and then I'm gonna be doing my cauliflower and my broccoli right here in front of my tomatillos, so hopefully nobody will get shaded. And in the shadier spots, hopefully the lettuce can thrive, and we plant some herbs too. Make sure to be careful of the roots. And pack it. And they're not too tight, but pretty firm. And then I started 3 plants in these pots, so I'm going to be careful of their roots. And I'm doing my cauliflower in these 3 holes here. So I'm going to be having 6 plants going this way. It's going to be packed, it's going to be tight. I don't want to let any of the space go to waste. So as some people would do 1 plant per square foot, I'm going to pack as much as I can in here. And just be careful separating. 1 plant. Carefully separate the roots. Make sure when you're building and planning for your raised bed that you don't make it too deep that you can't garden or reach or access the middle of your raised bed. So this is as far as I can go on this side, so now I'm going to go to the other side to finish. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the broccoli in on this side. I got 3 plants, 1 pot again, so I'm going to carefully separate the roots. And I'll have 3 cauliflower and 3 broccoli going across this 1 foot area. It'll be 1 foot by 3 foot. Make sure you pack the soil down tight because broccoli likes really packed soil. Go ahead. There we got 2 tomatillos, 3 cauliflower, 3 broccoli, and 2 cabbages here, and then I have space open for later. I'm also started a bunch of cilantro plants. I have a couple in pots under my patio, and I was gonna grow 1 inside, but you know what? I have a lot of space right here, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put this cilantro plant right here by my onion and carrot. How it does. It might still be a little too warm, but I have a few other plants starting with cilantro because we eat a lot of cilantro, so making sure to grow a lot of it. And over here in our kale bed, I have a bunch of blue Siberian kale growing, but I want different varieties, so I'm going to transplant this red Russian that's been growing inside out here, and the roots are really growing all over here, so I don't want to damage the roots too much, so I'm just going to go ahead and let the roots grow out of it and keep the plant inside the pot because the roots can completely grow through here. It's a plantable pot. And in this area, I have a blue dwarf, which is my honey's favorite for his juices. After you get your transplants planted, make sure you always water them immediately. It helps avoid transplant shock. Get them the moisture they desire. First, you're gonna need to use a good quality potting mix. I like this raised bed potting mix from Kellogg. I like to sprinkle the dirt in there and make sure you break up any clumps. Don't put any big chunks in there. And then after you have your first layer of dirt, I like to pack it down with my finger. And then go one more time. And it's ready. And make sure to label everything because you will not remember. You want to get the soil pre-moist. And that's probably good. Now that we have our tray pre-moistened, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start planting some cauliflower, cabbage, and broccoli. The seeds are really small, so you want to be careful pouring it. You see how small the seeds are, so be careful. You want to plant them kind of shallow. The smaller the seed, you don't want to put them too deep because you don't want them to not be able to poke through. And I'm just going to plant, just drop a couple seeds in each tray. Cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage seeds all kind of look the same. They're very, very small, so be careful when you're holding them, not to mix them up. So I'm going to plant 3 cauliflower trays, and I'm just going to drop like 2 to 3 seeds in each one. If they all sprout, you can thin out the weakest plant. And I'm going to do the broccoli, and again, 2 to 3 seeds in each tray, just to increase your chances of germination, just in case they don't all sprout. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the lettuces. I got a bunch of different varieties. This one's Paris Island romaine, and it's really heat tolerant. It's a good lettuce for our area. Lettuce also has really small seeds, as you can see here. So be careful handling them. Don't plant them too deep. Carefully move the soil back on top of them to make sure that every surface area of the seed is in contact with the soil so it can get the moisture it needs so it can properly germinate. And here's a butter crunch variety. I try to always buy everything organic, but all the lettuces have the similar looking seeds. I got 2 I'm going to plant right here, and then once these are grown big enough, I'm going to transplant them out into my raised garden bed. I'm planting a bunch of different lettuce varieties. The ones that won't fit in my raised garden bed, I'm just going to do container gardening, and I'll have them in my patio in pots. I use very different containers. I have some ceramic pots, but I've been really into the grow bags lately. I bought a bunch of them off Amazon, so I'm going to be planting lots of stuff in them. Wallman's dark green lettuce. These lettuce heads get very large. They take up about a square foot of area, so these are going to be some big lettuce heads. Emerald oak lettuce. I'm just going to sprinkle a few to make sure that I have increased chances of germination. Now I've got 2 different varieties of mustard, some spicy greens, even smaller seeds than broccoli. Very, very, very little. Very similar looking to broccoli though. Okay. Lettuces and the brassicas like broccoli and kale and stuff, they germinate rather quickly. Spinach on the other hand, don't give up. It germinates a lot slower. It has a much larger seed. As you can see, these seeds are huge. So sometimes you think like, oh, I gotta replant because it didn't sprout, but just wait. These ones take a little bit longer. And the bigger the seeds, usually the rule you can go by is the deeper they can go. I have 3 different varieties of spinach I'm gonna be planting right now. Now the last spinach seeds are going in. Now I'm gonna plant some chives. I found this variety that has pink flowers. So that's pretty cute. I'm excited about that. I have one growing inside already, but I'm going to plant a few more. Chives have seeds kind of like onions do. I'm sure you've seen these on a bagel before. Chives are a perennial herb. Perennial meaning that they keep growing. It's not an annual that just has a harvest and then it's done. You can do a cut and come again type of harvest, or you can harvest the whole plant. Just gonna sprinkle these little seeds in here, cover them up. I got 2 different varieties of beets here. And the cool thing about beets is that they're a multi-germ seed, so that means the seed is actually a cluster of many seeds. So when you plant the one seed, you shall get multiple seedlings sprout. And if you want to look at the beet seed, this is what they look like. They're pretty gnarly. So in one seed, you'll have multiple seeds. So you'll get multiple sprouts. Flies are landing on me. Beets have seed like these. So does Swiss chard. Now I'm going to go ahead and plant some snap peas, sugar peas. I got two different varieties here, a pole one and a bush pea. So the bush pea doesn't need any trellising. Peas germinate really easy and they sprout really fast, so they're really good to plant if you want microgreens as well. These are delicious microgreens, but I'm going to go ahead and plant for the whole plant. They're big seeds, so plant it kind of deep. And I've never really had issues with these. They always sprout to me. They're one of the easiest plants, I think, to plant. I'm going to go ahead and just pop one seed in. Yeah, these are delicious as microgreens. I really like this variety because they have there's a fly on my face. Okay, they're attacking me. Okay. I really like this variety because it has beautiful purple flowers too. So that's a bonus. Edible and beautiful. Now here's my bush pea. Again, looks like peas. I'm going to plant them an inch down. I'm probably going to transplant these into my grow bags. You can put up to 8, but I like to put 4 to 5 in each grow bag. Like a 5-gallon grow bag, so it's about 1 square foot of growing area. You can add up to 8, but then you'll need to water it really often, and I just find that less is more manageable. Now that I've got everything planted and the dirt covered over, I'm going to water them in. You want to be careful while watering them in because you don't want to displace any of the small seeds like the broccoli and the lettuces. So you could use a spray bottle. I'm just going to use the mist option on this. And then you're done. And then as I water them, I'm going to actually water them from underneath, so I'm just going to pour water in the tray and then they're going to actually uptake the water from underneath. It's a self-watering tray, so I won't be like spraying the tops anymore. And how you set your seed trays up inside is they're going to need some heat to germinate, so you can need yourself a heat mat. Put the tray on the heat mat, and then you're going to want to cover them. The trays come with this cover. And then it's like a mini greenhouse. This will keep it humid in there and increase the chances of germination. So heat, moisture, and then as soon as the seeds sprout, remove the tray because you can get some mold. And then you'll want to turn on the light because then the seeds will want light right away. Once they have sprouted, I like to put the tray like on a shoebox or something to have the seeds as close as they can to the light. And then as the seeds keep growing, you could just keep lowering the tray. But when you start them out, you want them as close as possible to the light. The cool thing about these LEDs from Root Farm that I got on Amazon is that yes, I like to raise it on like a shoebox or anything, but then once your plants get taller, I don't know how to do it. They're able to grow with your plants. And it came with a hanging kit, so you can hang it from the ceiling and then you can grow your plants as tall as you want. Now I'll show you some container gardening. I'm going to be direct sowing some carrots and some long bunching onions. And I'm going to plant the long bunching onions. I already started some, but I'm just going to fill up the rest of the container with them. Here's one of my failed experiments from planting too early in summer. I planted some arugula here, and whatever the birds didn't get, the heat did. So I just ripped it all out. It became a chicken snack. So now I'm just going to fill up the rest of the container with some long onion. Like the chives, similar seeds. In fact, they looked exactly the same. I got some radishes here on the side that the birds didn't tear up. So I'm just going to plant around those. You want to go about like a 1/2 inch deep and about 1 inch apart. Seeds are very small, so be careful. I'm just gonna drop a couple in each hole. Like the name, they're a bunching onion. So you don't have to thin them if they all sprout. They like to grow in bunches. Cover your seeds back up. And then water them in thoroughly. Here's my failed lettuce bed. This is where I'm gonna plant my carrots, and since the birds got it all, I'm just gonna let my birds eat the rest. And they love it. You are what you eat, so our fresh eggs are made from fresh veggies and fruits, organic chicken feed, I'm going to prep this container by unpacking some of this soil, just loosening it up. The carrots will need looser soil. No more ghost. All right, so the carrots, I'm going to plant them in rows. I'm just going to make myself a little trench. I got a variety pack here of some fun little carrots. As you can see, they're like smaller, funny shape, kind of like childlike blends, but so I'm gonna plant them here in this container. It should be plenty deep enough. The tiniest one I'll put here on the side. So be careful with carrot seeds. I think they're the smallest seeds there is. Teensy tiny, awful little seeds to deal with. So be very careful and just sprinkle them along your trench. They're too small to make it an exact science. These are rainbow carrots. They're a bit larger, so I'm going to plant them in the middle of the container so they have room to grow deeper. I made 4 trenches here. I'm going to plant 4 varieties of carrots. Morticia here really thinks I'm going to give her a snack, because usually when I'm bending over here, I'm giving her my thinned seedlings. She says, "Where's my Swiss chard?" Carrots are a bit tricky. They're one of the hardest seeds to germinate because if you don't keep them constantly moist, I feel like they won't germinate. So either have like a drip system or make sure that you're here to really monitor them germinating. Or some people like to get a piece of plywood or a piece of board and literally put the chunk of wood over your carrots, and all the moisture under the wood will stay there. And then as soon as they germinate, remove the wood because they'll be needing light. So that's a little hack to getting carrots to germinate. The way the board really helps is that you can really wash away these tiny seeds when you're watering, so it'll be keeping the moisture there so you're not overwatering and the seeds all wash it up, because then if the seeds all puddle up, then all your seeds are going to germinate in one area and you're going to have bald spots. So always be careful with the way you're watering these carrots when they're germinating, or have the board on top. But you have to keep checking the board because as soon as the seeds germinate, they're going to need some light. Now that you got your seeds in there, carefully push the soil back on top of them. The seeds are so small, you want to be very careful. Be careful not to puddle, because all the seeds will wash into that puddle. My last bit of transplanting I'm going to do today, some herbs. I have some chives right here. Go ahead and put in this pot. I already have some cilantro in here. Some roots growing on this side, so I'm going to leave that part. Put this guy right here. Some oregano. I grow my basil inside usually, and I like to grow herbs all year long. So I'm actually looking into maybe getting one of those strawberry planters so I can have an indoor herb garden going. But for now, it's still quite warm, so these can be out here. I just thought the idea of that strawberry planter looked really cool, so you can have all of them in one place and not multiple pots everywhere. I love using fresh herbs in recipes. I always use a lot of basil because I like to make pesto and put it in pastas. So I have that growing on my windowsill all year long. Got some cilantro going, now some new oregano, thyme, and a chive. And hopefully we'll get more started inside as well. With summer coming to an end and our fruit harvest ending, don't be discouraged because there's still so many great things you can grow. Fall and winter veggies are coming and they're very exciting. So I can't wait for some broccoli and some lettuces, and I can't wait to start harvesting because I think they're really tasty and so do my chickens. If you love chickens and gardening, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified when we put out our next video. Thanks for watching and we'll catch you on the next one.